Millions of illegal aliens are stampeding across our wide open borders, pouring into our country. It's an invasion.
Conservative politicians have upped the accusations that some Democrats support open border policies. But do they? Since 1992, the U.S. has quadrupled the number of Border Patrol agents from less than 5,000 to nearly 20,000 today. The United States hasn't had an open border since the early 20s, when it was relatively easy for migrants to cross from Mexico or simply buy a boat ticket from Europe. The open border language took off during the Obama administration as conservatives worked to thwart planned immigration reform. Obama was routinely attacked for supporting open borders, though he stepped up his deportations and was actually labeled by immigrant advocates as the deporter-in-chief. Today, GOP presidential candidates repeat the false claim that President Biden supports open borders. In two presidential debates, candidates Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Mike Pence alluded to open borders with little evidence. Upset over Biden's decision to lift a Trump-era policy, Texas Governor Greg Abbott denounced Biden for having open border policies, though he didn't define what that was. David Bier, the Associate Director of Immigration Studies at the Cato Institute, said, "We don't have open borders because the U.S. government is attempting to stop as many people who cross the border as they can. In fact, the Biden administration is now deporting migrants to Mexico, even if they aren't from Mexico. If the administration was pursuing any kind of open border policy, the number of people being arrested would be dropping, and that's not the case. They're arresting and expelling as many people as ever." And now here is what DeSantis would like to do.
I think if you look at if somebody is breaking through the border wall, which they are doing in other parts, demonstrating hostile intent or hostile action, you have to be able to meet that with the appropriate use of force. I don't see how you can just let them do that and carve through a wall on sovereign U.S. territory with a backpack full of drugs. And so of course you use deadly force.
That's what we would call an execution. So the Border Patrol would have to have stopped him to be able to look into the backpack to see that there are drugs there before executing him.
I mean, how would you let somebody just break into your house and do you harm? No. And I can tell you in Texas, they wouldn't do that. Try that in Texas. Why is our country any different? And these guys will bring like blowtorches. They have a huge thing that the cartels are doing. And how embarrassing is it that we have in the places we have a wall? I was there the other day in Arizona. They're repairing the wall because they busted through the wall. I mean, that is just unacceptable. And I tell you, if you drop a couple of these cartel operatives trying to do that, you're not going to have to worry about that anymore. They will not mess. They're only messing with it because they know they can get away with it.
I want to go back to this one issue, though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not.
drill.
That's not.
No, no.
That's not retribution.
I'm going to be. He keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No. Other than day one, we're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator." Okay. Under the Democrat rule, in Democrat-run cities, Democrat-run states, and a Democrat-run federal government, the criminals have been given free rein more than ever before. There's never been a time like this. Our streets are riddled with needles and soaked with the blood of innocent victims. Many of our once great cities, from New York to Chicago to LA, where the middle class used to flock to live the American dream, are now war zones, literal war zones. The next president needs to send the National Guard to the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago until safety can be successfully restored, which can happen very, very quickly. Fifth, we have to take back our streets and public spaces from the homeless, the drug addicted, and the dangerously deranged. What's happened to our cities? Look at San Francisco, such a beautiful city. And today people don't even look at the beauty. They just want to try and make it to their office or their home.
Well, the irony is that according to the FBI's Uniform Crime Report, Boston and Dallas had more violent crimes reported per 100,000 residents in 2021, tallying 892 and 864, respectively, compared with San Francisco's 613 during that same period. And for some reason, Americans said they felt most safe in Dallas, which pulled at 74%, and Boston, which came in at 72%. So is this just propaganda? All right, let's take a walk, right? Let's walk through democracy, maybe autocracy, maybe dictatorship. Hello, Lona. Just walking around my shoes. I'm Eric McCoy. Lona, how you doing?
Man, I'm so good. I'm grateful to be here, hanging out in space, hanging out with you.
Yeah.
We're going to take a walk in some shoes. And I'm going to be completely surprised, so I'm loving it, though. I'm loving it. You know, I don't follow a whole bunch of this politics nonsensory.
I try not to, but it's always in my head, and it always gets in my head, and people are always talking about it, you know?
I know. Some of it, if I get too caught into it, I can find myself starting to get really, really nervous.
This is going to make you more nervous.
Oh, good, good.
Okay, so former President Donald Trump has outlined a radical shift in U.S. immigration policy, right? So if he's elected president again in 2024, he's vowing to implement a massive deportation. Now, in some ways, Trump, who is the front runner, obviously, and we did that other episode, which I haven't put out yet, but it'll be coming out, to secure the Republican presidential nomination, is relying on the same hardline immigration playbook that he used during his 2016 campaign. Right? He's pledged to build miles of more border. I don't know how much he built anyways.
Right.
And impose dramatic limits on asylum, including by reviving a program that his administration used to require migrants to await their asylum hearings in Mexico, which I don't know if I necessarily disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
But in other ways, Trump's promises and rhetoric on immigration during his second presidential campaign have been harsher this time around. So he has vowed to end birthright citizenship for the children of immigrants living in the country unlawfully. He's going to deputize the National Guard to carry out mass deportations and deny entry to legal immigrants based on their ideological beliefs. So in one recent interview, Trump said,
Nobody has any idea where these people are coming from, and we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions, insane asylums. We know they're terrorists. Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
Poisoning the blood of our country. Where do you think that idea comes from? Any idea?
No, tell me.
Well, there was similar usage of poisoning the blood of our country by our good old Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf.
Those are hate-inciting words, you know? Like, our words are so powerful. That's not a way to describe a societal problem or issue. It's a way to invoke heavy emotion about it.
Yep.
And that, in turn, becomes the scarier part.
So I have two pages that we're going to look at real quick out of Mein Kampf. And here's one of them. And so this poison was allowed to enter the national bloodstream and infect public life without the government taking any effectual measures to master the course of the disease. The ridiculous half measures that were taken were in themselves an indication of the process of disintegration and was already threatening to break up the empire.
Wow.
And the second one is this one. History furnishes us with innumerable instances that prove this law. It shows with a startling clarity that whenever Aryans have mingled their blood with that of an inferior race, the result has been the downfall of the people who were the standard bearers of a higher culture. Not using the exact terminology, but basically that's what he is saying.
It invokes the same emotion. It invokes that same core. You're taking something from me. For you to have, it must take from me, and therefore I must fight you to survive for it. And it's how we just breed hate. Hate is the poison.
Hate is the yeah, and it doesn't solve anything ever.
No, it doesn't. I mean, because we're not mentioning that there is not, issues within the system. The system has very huge flaws, but inciting the type of violence and stigma that attaches to it is what is truly poisoning, our society. We need each other's diversity. At the same time, we need a plan for some of this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly, we've talked about it before. I'm not a fan of Biden.
Right.
I think he's I think he's really old. I think he is losing some of his brain, capabilities in some ways, type of thing.
Yes. Yes.
But it's funny. My brother was in town for a few days, and we were talking about this. And, if it was, again, between Biden and Trump, kind of see this as we go through this a little bit. Mm-hmm. Would you rather have Biden, or would you rather lose democracy? Right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to look at real quick after a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to great steaks, I've just raised the stakes. The Sharper Image is one of my favorite stores with fantastic products of all kinds. That's why I'm thrilled they agree with me. Trump steaks are the world's greatest steaks, and I mean that in every sense of the word. And the Sharper Image is the only store where you can buy them. Trump steaks are by far the best tasting, most flavorful beef you've ever had. Truly in a league of their own. Trump steaks are 5-star gourmet, quality that belong in a very, very select category of restaurant, and are certified Angus Beef Prime. There's nothing better than that. Of all of the beef produced in America, less than 1% qualifies for that category. It's the best of the best. Until now, you could only enjoy steaks of this quality in one of my resort restaurants or America's finest steakhouses, but now that's changed. Today, through the Sharper Image, you can enjoy the world's greatest steaks in your own home with family, friends, anytime. Trump steaks are aged to perfection to provide the ultimate in tenderness and flavor. If you like your steak, you'll absolutely love Trump steaks. Treat yourself to the very, very best life has to offer. And as a gift, Trump steaks are the best you can give. One bite and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And believe me, I understand steaks. It's my favorite food, and these are the best.
Donald Trump registered Trump steaks as a U.S. trademark in August 2006. Trump steaks were launched on May 8th, 2007, exclusively through the Sharper Images catalog stores and website as part of a 3-month trial period. Trump steaks failed to sell well through the Sharper Image, which discontinued sales of the product line after 2 months. So dictatorship, okay? So dictatorship is an autocratic form of government, which is characterized by a leader or a group of leaders who hold governmental powers with few to no limitations. Trump's kind of mentioned that before when he was president, right? Politics in a dictatorship are controlled by a dictator, and they are facilitated through an inner circle of elites that includes advisors, generals, and other high-ranking officials.
Scary.
The dictator maintains control by influencing and appeasing the inner circle. He needs to appease them, and repressing any opposition, which can include rival political parties, armed resistance, or disloyal members of the dictator's inner circle. Dictatorships can be formed by a military coup that overthrows the previous government, which may have been attempted, which is he's being charged with, through force, as they can be formed by a self-coup in which elected leaders make their rule permanent. Dictatorships are authoritarian or totalitarian, and they can be classified as military, one-party, personalistic dictatorships, or absolute monarchies. So you have totalitarianism, often regarded as the most extreme form of authoritarianism. Totalitarianism is generally identified by dictatorial, centralized rule dedicated to controlling all public and private aspects of individuals' life to the benefit of the state through coercion, intimidation, and repression. Sound familiar? Totalitarian states are typically ruled by autocrats or dictators who demand unquestioned loyalty and control public opinion through propaganda distributed via government-controlled media.
Yeah.
Now, an even darker description of living under totalitarianism comes from George Orwell's classic dystopian novel 1984, when the main character, Winston Smith, is told by thought police interrogator O'Brien, if you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever.
Wow.
Totalitarianism, again, versus authoritarianism. So both of them depend on quashing all forms of individual freedom. However, the methods of doing so differ a little bit through largely passive techniques such as propaganda. Authoritarian states work to win the blind voluntary submission of their citizens. In contrast, totalitarian regimes employ extreme measures such as secret police forces and imprisonment to control the private and political lives of their citizens. Now, while totalitarian states typically demand a practically religious loyalty to a single highly developed ideology, most authoritarian states do not. Now, unlike totalitarian states, authoritarian states are limited in their ability to force the entire population to adopt and pursue the regime's goals for the nation. And then you got fascism, right? And so fascism is a much older political ideology than totalitarianism. More extreme right-wing authoritarian concept. Fascism demands absolute and uncompromising loyalty to the nation or predominant race. Fascists seek to instill a superiority complex and feelings of fear among the citizens against perceived enemies of the race, like the Mexicans, or the nation. Right? The entire population is urged to stand behind the fascist leaders to either protect the superior identity of the population or to defeat the enemy as perceived by the leaders and their followers. So examples of characteristics that might be present in a totalitarian state include rule enforced by a single dictator. Now, Trump has talked about destroying the Constitution, right? Taking away all bits and pieces of it, okay? The presence of a single ruling political party is another strict censorship, if not total control of the press, constant dissemination of pro-government propaganda, mandatory service in the military for all citizens in some cases, mandatory population control practices, prohibition of certain religious or political groups and practices, prohibition of any form of public criticism of the government, laws enforced by secret police forces or the military. If we were to look at the presence of a single ruling political party, check out this video.
We pledge to you that we will root out The communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. The real threat is not from the radical right. The real threat is from the radical left. And it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within.
Fear. Fear, fear, fear.
Hail Trump. We better start. We're going to be executed if we don't hail Trump. We want to get that on record. Hail Trump.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Right now.
Hail Trump.
So we don't get beaten. That is wild. I mean, that's the most, you can just see the marketing scheme at work with the fear and the, survival and playing at the instincts of people and injecting that.
And that's what he's all about. It's what he's been all about, is fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so going back to the Nazis, right? Nazi officials used propaganda to dehumanize Jews and other persecuted enemies of their regime. And this is what they said. Do you remember what he said? He used the word vermin, right? And the Nazis said that enemies of their regime as diseased, riddled vermin, degenerates, and racially inferior. And this is according to the Holocaust Memorial Museum.
Wow.
Sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah. Have to say.
Now he's not talking about any particular race, quote, but just anybody, any American, because he's talking about people within. These are Americans he's talking about. He's not talking about, because the real threat is within. Now, historian and author Joe Meckham said on MSNBC's Morning Joe on one particular day, he said, to call your opponent vermin, to dehumanize them, is to not only open the door, but to walk through the door toward the most ghastly kinds of crimes. Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates saying the former president's use of vermin to describe dissent and protest would be unrecognizable to our founders, but horrifyingly recognizable to American veterans who put on their country's uniform in the 1940s.
Wow.
So employing words like vermin to describe anyone who makes use of their basic right to criticize the government sort of echoes dictators like Hitler and Mussolini.
Wow.
So he's basically just saying anybody that goes against them, any communists, Marxists, right? Extreme left. Right?
Gosh, what a mind game. What a mind game to play with people.
Yep.
It's like sinister feeling.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
It's almost, it really, like I was saying, that conversation, do we go for Biden or do we go for eliminating democracy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's $220 million for the office building.
And 20 for that lost condo bid.
Oh, and don't forget my 10 mil for the sports complex. Take it easy. It's just a game.
Buy, sell, make deals, feel the power.
I win.
You always win.
Trump the game. The Donald.
Milton Bradley Company initially released the game in 1989, but it sold poorly, with only 800,000 copies sold out of an expected 2 million. Parker Brothers re-released Trump the Game in 2004, following the success of Trump's reality television series, The Apprentice. Trump the Game received poor reviews from critics and the public audience. Now, the game's played with 3 to 4 players who must buy and sell various properties in an attempt to make money. The winner is the player who has the most money at the end of the game. Kind of sounds like another game that's been around for a long time. Monopoly?
Wow, it's a lot, like there's just, it's weird to think that how close that the possibilities for us are in some of these aspects. It's like 20 years ago, you could kind of throw it off. You know, it wasn't so close. Now it's really, really close. And this, you know, it's serious for people to be aware of what they are drawing in, like what they're intaking in their lives. This is not the television, the media presence of generations past. This is a whole new monster made to generate, you know, more and more consumerism and more fear. And, you know, you got to be the gatekeeper of your mind, man, so that you know when you're making a decision if it belongs to you or not.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
That's scary.
So he's also expressed desire for the government to inflict more violence, right?
That's what we need.
On its enemies, including calling for the execution of the military's highest ranking general for treason.
Oh.
Forcing the then chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to take security measures to protect his family. He called for this, right? So, and so he has also called for, watch this video.
And we will immediately stop all of the pillaging and theft. Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you are leaving that store. Shot.
Wow. Right. And that's California. Wow.
And everything will immediately stop. You won't have any more of that. And you know, our law enforcement is great, but they're not allowed to do anything. They're told to stand by, stand back, don't touch, don't touch. They watch hundreds of kids walk out with television sets, and if they do anything, they lose their family, they lose their house, they lose their pension, they get fired. We have the greatest law enforcement in the world. They know exactly what to do, but they're not allowed to do it by incompetent politicians. The word that they shoot you will get out within minutes, and our nation in one day will be an entirely different place. So, there must be retribution for theft and destruction and the ruination of our country.
Wow.
Word he used.
Wow.
We normally use justice.
Yeah.
But he used retribution. Not justice.
Yes. Yeah.
So he's looking to take apart that part of our Constitution because you're innocent until proven guilty, right? And so in this case, so you're shot, so you're obviously guilty, you know, and never get to prove yourself innocent.
Wow.
But what happens? Let me ask you this question. So what happens when, you know, you've got innocent bystanders? I'm sure you're going to have people that, you know, are going to be in the nearby. Let's say these people don't even have guns, and then all of a sudden you got bullets flying from. So what happens when they shoot this person? And because, again, guns are blazing, an innocent person is shot. Now, do we get retribution on the cop, or do we get retribution on Trump? Because retribution is what we get, right? So, because somebody has to pay.
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
That's
now
it.
they just committed murder. If they shoot an innocent person.
Yep.
Actually, if they shoot somebody that doesn't even have a weapon, they've committed murder. I mean, whether they shoot somebody that has a gun, they've committed murder.
I just cannot
I guess you
believe
could justify that, you know.
I just can't believe how loud it was, and that was in California. Like, I just did not expect that from California.
Well, you got to realize where in California that is. That's Orange County.
So, so Pamela keeps telling me that there's different parts of
Anaheim. So Anaheim is in Orange County. That's where Disneyland is, right? And so Orange County is a fairly large, because there are a lot of very wealthy people in Orange County, you know. They're not into sharing and socialism, and they're not into helping people and any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're all into hoarding, keeping all their own shit, never putting their hand out, things like that, you know.
Yeah.
That's the right. I mean, isn't that kind of the
That's the culture.
and they're religious and they follow Jesus's rule of giving away everything, and you know that way because that's the only way they're going to get to heaven is they have to give everything away and follow him. Wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
No, yeah.
What the hell?
That scripture doesn't exist there. That doesn't exist there. Skip over that one.
So Trump is currently facing many charges now from both federal and state levels, right? And I don't know if you've ever really looked into all the charges that he's had, but it's a lot of charges.
Not really.
So the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney charged Trump and 18 others in connection with efforts to reverse his 2020 election loss in the state. Okay. So this is a state thing, right? Because you got to remember that Trump is blaming everything on Biden. So that's a state thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the federal government anyways. Now, the most sweeping charge in this case with those is Trump's alleged violation of Georgia's powerful anti-racketeering law. So this law allows prosecutors to charge a large group of people in a very complex web of potential crimes. So the indictment says Trump and others were part of a criminal enterprise that refused to accept his election loss and conspired to change the outcome. Now, separate counts of soliciting or impersonating a public officer refer to attempts by Trump and co-defendants to pressure officials to find ways to change the results, mainly by peddling false claims about voter fraud. Right?
Wow.
The remaining counts, there's forgery, there's false statements and false documents that involve the plot to appoint fake electors, as well as the false voter fraud claims Trump and others made as they allegedly tried to subvert the election. So we all know that story, right? As he's still saying it. He's still saying it, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Now there are 4 charges in the federal. Now this one is federal. January 6th election case, right? Federal prosecutors are investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol and efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the results of the presidential election. Conspiracy is a broad legal term meaning 2 or more people plotted to break the law and then took steps to do so. So conspiracy does not have to be successful to amount to a crime. Right? So in this case, Trump and a group of alleged co-conspirators, unnamed but many identifiable through prosecutors' descriptions, are accused of scheming to reverse the election results and keep Trump in power. Now, the 3 conspiracy counts relate to the myriad ways they allegedly tried to accomplish that goal. Hang Mike Pence, right? No, Trump didn't say that, but
that's right.
But a lot of his stuff regarding, though, I'll meet you at the Capitol. A lot of the instigation, especially regarding some of the things other people said, because he put the whole show on. You know?
Oh yeah, because his son spoke there and that woman. Yeah, it was all the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Rudy Giuliani, right?
Yeah.
The 4th count on that was attempting to obstruct an official proceeding, which arises from Trump's attempt to stop Congress from certifying Joe Biden's win. Right? Now, there's also, and we're going to talk a little bit about this one in a little bit, but there are 40 charges in the classified documents case. So each of the first 32 counts relate to a different classified document that prosecutors say Trump illegally kept after he left the White House. Some of the documents contained military intelligence and other sensitive information that could harm national security if exposed. And this is according to prosecutors. The other charges involved Trump's alleged attempts to hide the documents from investigators and delete Mar-a-Lago security footage. Now, and then there are 34 charges in the falsifying business records case. So this is the Manhattan District Attorney. So this is a state again. The Manhattan District Attorney charged Trump with falsifying business records in connection with hush money payments to adult film actress Stormy Daniels during the 2016 election. These are essentially bookkeeping charges. So each involves a separate instance in which prosecutors allege that Trump misclassified campaign expenses as legal expenses. Falsifying business records is a misdemeanor in New York, but can be charged as a felony when prosecutors believe there is an intent to defraud. That includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal a crime. What do you think?
Well,
he claims it's all, a fraud. He claims it's all fake news. It's all Biden. That's, the banana republic, with Biden that's, having charges filed against him so he can't run for office. All those things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are many obstacles that seem to have a lot of blame, but,
It's amazing to me when you think about this, right? So he was impeached twice. Right? Almost everybody in his freaking group of people had been arrested for something, charged with some crime. Some of them went to prison, right? A good group of them. But he's innocent of everything.
Right. Right. It's overwhelmingly just ridiculous. And I mean, we watched January the 6th. I mean, we watched that. There's no, I mean, how do you say it's anything but, I mean, I don't, and I can't believe that. I mean, like, he's really getting numbers he's really looking like he may get get elected for that, to run for office. Really? Gosh, I was just hoping it was all going to be a joke, man. Like, not really, like not in a shitty kind of way, but like, really, people, we're going to do this again? Why? Because you just want a reason to be shitty to each other and hate each other and feel good about it, or stand over each other and keep each other thumb down. I mean, that's what it's all for. Jeez.
Trump Vodka was an American brand of vodka produced at first in the Netherlands, then later in Germany by Drinks Americas under license from the Trump Organization. The brand was launched in the United States in 2005, but ceased production under the Trump name in 2011 when it failed to meet the required threshold for distribution.
I think the people know it's a political persecution. It's a political hoax. This is Biden, who's the worst president in the history of our country. We've never had a president so dumb, so incompetent, and so corrupt from the standpoint of what they're doing. They've weaponized the Justice Department. They've weaponized the FBI. And they've come at me with the worst indictments. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I'm probably the only guy ever indicted whose poll numbers have shot up through the roof. I mean, it's actually been helpful from the standpoint of getting elected because the people understand it. It's a hoax. And everything they did, whether they rigged the election last time or this, it's the same thing. It's all the same thing. And frankly, it's the only thing they're good at. They're good at rigging elections. This is a form of rigging an election. So they think they can damage me. Now, so far, it's been the exact opposite, because when you study it, and I have a voice. I mean, I have a voice with you. I have a voice with others where I can talk about it, whereas other people, if they ever got indicted, they're out of politics. They go to the microphone, they say, I'm going to spend the rest of my life clearing my name. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with my family. I've seen it hundreds of times, as you have in Mexico, that I can tell you. No, it's backfired on them. And they would have liked to have done it more, but nobody's ever done this before in this country. This is for third world countries. This is for banana republics. This is for countries that don't do this kind of thing. And they've now tried it because they're losing so badly in the polls that if they can try and damage me for the election, and I don't think the people are going to take it. And I do, it's very interesting because they're all in Democrat areas, radical left blue areas. I have a lot of radical left judges. I have a lot of, but despite that, I think it's all working out because the people ultimately are going to speak. And I think the people get it better than anybody else, better than we do. It's amazing. They see it. Nothing like this has ever happened in this country. It does happen in other countries, but these are developing nations. These are third world nations. So Biden is a man who has unleashed something that's a very bad thing, because when that happens to me, it can happen to them. And, he's a very corrupt president.
You say they've weaponized the Justice Department, they weaponized the FBI. Would you do the same if you're reelected?
Well, he's unleashed something that we've all known about this for 100 years. We've watched other countries do it. And in some cases effective, and in other cases the country's overthrown or it's been totally ineffective. But we've watched this for a long time, and it's not unique, but it's unique for the United States. Yeah, if they do this, they've already done it. But if they want to follow through on this, it could certainly happen in reverse. It could certainly happen in reverse. What they've done is they've released the genie out of the box. You understand that? They've done something that nobody thought would happen. They've taken a president who was very popular. I got 75 million votes, much more than that, I believe. Mm-hmm. No president's ever gotten that many votes. And they've taken that number of people, and I think you can double it or almost you can triple it in terms of the feeling. You can't do that. You can't go after people. When you're president and you've done a good job and you're popular, you don't go after them so you can win an election. They've done indictments in order to win an election. They call it weaponization. And the people aren't going to stand for it. But they have done something that allows the next party. I mean, if I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say, go down and indict them. Mostly that would be, they would be out of business. They'd be out. They'd be out of the election.
So he's basically acknowledging the fact that, he's convinced, and I don't think he is. I don't think he's convinced, but he's using this as a tool to basically, fire up his people because they just believe him. I mean, obviously you got all these people that just believe what he freaking said and don't care,
I know.
And so he's basically saying that, if I get in office next election, even though you can technically only run two, but he'll change that,
Oh yeah.
He'll do some, presidential power, authoritarian dictatorship power.
Right. More likely. Wow.
Crazy.
It is. It's craziness. It's overwhelmingly crazy. And you're right. The blind belief and all of these subliminal and these subconscious messages that are being sent with that energy is just really ripping us apart. And the problem is everybody thinks they're on the right side. But at some point, you got to realize, just like with the civil rights movement, you got to realize that hurting people is not the right thing to do.
But that's what some people like to do.
It is. And I think that unfortunately that seems to be a lot of these supporters. That a lot of them are just looking for an excuse.
I think they say it's about 25% of Americans are major supporters of Trump.
We're still working out generational racism too in this area. We're still working that junk out. And so it is like this. Sometimes I just look around. What?
Young people are caring less and less about that shit.
They are. And it's really, really, To me, I can take time to stop and look how far we've come. I know we have a long way to go, but I think that all of our generations have done a lot of work in that area, even though there's still quite a few knuckleheads and quite a few people that still have ridiculous belief systems about stuff.
Yeah.
For the most part, there has been a long way that we have all come, and hopefully there will be in 2 generations, at most, there'll be nothing like that anymore.
Yeah.
We just won't care. We'll just, see and embrace the diversity of each human being.
Take a look at this real quick.
I think it's a bunch of bull. Trump ain't done that. Wrong thing Trump done is saved this country.
They're not going to let it stop. They can't stand the fact that he's running for president. And I am a Donald Trump fan.
It's probably altered, but it's just typical liberal propaganda.
None of the Republican voters CNN spoke with had read the indictment.
No, I wouldn't waste my time on a phony indictment. I don't care about the indictment. You could indict a bologna sandwich.
But is it maybe a turkey sandwich?
The courts in several different states are finding different things about Trump. Is there anything that could happen with him indictment-wise that would say, all right, maybe this disqualifies him for president?
Not for me. I'm with him to the finish.
All right, thank you so much.
He could stand on the front steps of the White House and commit murder, and I'm with him.
We had somebody earlier tell us that if Trump was standing on the steps of the White House and murdered someone, he'd still vote for him. Same with you?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
I don't know. I like Trump.
Whoa.
Wow.
I don't know.
So again,
I like Trump.
Okay, so again, that goes now. There's one thing about them all saying like, you know what? Okay, I don't believe the indictments. He didn't do it. All blah blah. But now you've got people that are saying like, oh, I don't give a fuck. He could have done fucking everything.
Yeah,
he could have murdered fucking on the front of the White House, done anything, and I'm still going to vote for him. Now that's the ones that really.
And I don't even know why.
I just like Trump because he's a fucking
Yeah.
racist. And that dude looked like a racist.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Hey, judge a book by its cover.
So again, the question comes is there any validity to any of this type of stuff? Right? Now, until 1974, presidents could take documents with them when they left office. Now, obviously, you'll kind of understand when you look at the year. That was when Nixon and the Watergate thing.
Oh, yeah.
Now, now every presidential document, from notebook doodles to top secret security plans, belong to the National Archives,
as they should,
and they're responsible for it. And so, if let's say, the president leaves and he accidentally takes stuff, not a big deal, or just gets mixed in with his shit and he leaves and stuff like that.
Yeah,
the National Archives is responsible. They're the responsible ones to contact them and say, hey, we know you have some documents, or check your stuff and make sure you don't have any documents, and then return them to us, which apparently is what they did with Trump, and he refused to do it. He hid them.
Whoa.
So the question is, did he do it? Is he responsible? Right? Because it's not fake news if he did it.
Right.
I mean, it's not like you break the law, you break the law.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, Trump was trying to do that all fucking year long with Ukraine, right? I mean, it's funny. Trump is, let's say Biden did do that, right? But Trump's saying that Biden opened the door. No, wait a minute. I think Trump opened the door, right? I mean,
It's not me, it's him.
Right. Yeah, he opened the door to this. No, dude, you actually opened the door. You did it freaking that's what you got impeached for. Let's take a look at this.
I've said on Truth Social a number of times, you did declassify.
I did declassify, yes.
Okay. Is there a process? What was your process to declassify?
There doesn't have to be a process, as I understand it. There's different people say different things, but as I understand, there doesn't have to be. If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it, because you're sending it to Mar-a-Lago or to wherever you're sending it. And there doesn't have to be a process. There can be a process, but there doesn't have to be. You're the president. You make that decision. So when you send it, It's declassified. I declassified everything.
Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news. We have obtained what is expected to be a central piece of the government's case against Donald Trump. The actual audio recording of the former president talking as if he is showing a highly classified document on U.S. war plans against Iran with people not cleared to even know it exists, let alone what's in it. In a moment, only on CNN, you will hear what jurors will hear one day. The recording was made 2 summers ago, July 2021, at the former president's club in Bedminster, New Jersey. You will clearly hear the former president as he is speaking to several people. According to the special counsel's indictment, they include a writer working on Mark Meadows' memoir, the publisher, and 2 of Trump's staff members. The president was aware he was being recorded. This is the first time it is being played publicly.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
It started right at the beginning.
Like when Millie's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at him. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Look at that.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time,
she'd send it, she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert.
Please print.
By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying, because we were talking about it. And he said he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
declassify.
Figure out
See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so. Here and I have. And you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
it's incredible, right?
No,
hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
Wow.
So he didn't declassify it, as he said that he told Hannity, freaking Hannity, and that all he's got to do is think it. He didn't even think it, obviously.
No, because it sounded like he had a dumb moment. Oh, duh! I should have thought of that.
Fuck, I should have declassified it. Well, I can't do it now because I'm not president anymore. Trump is a weird guy,
Yeah.
And the shit that comes out of his mouth, it's like, I don't know how he makes up some of this shit, but he,
Right. It's like, everything's like a 2-take statement. It's kind of like, what?
Yeah.
What?
And this is one of those, and this is on deportation, right?
Under Biden, other countries are emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions and sending them right here to the USA. Can you imagine? Prisons and mental institutions are being emptied out. I read a story not long ago where a man who takes care of a large segment of people in a mental institution in a South American country, a doctor, sounded like a great man, actually. He said he no longer has anything to do. He used to work 24-hour days. He said, all of our patients have been released into the United States of America. And this is what we have. This is what we've allowed to happen. And we can't allow this to happen because we will not have a country any longer. We can't allow it to happen. Under my leadership, we will quickly restore the most secure border in U.S. history. We had the strongest border in history, and now we have, I think, the worst border in the history of the world, because no country, even a third world country, would allow what's happening right now to us to happen to them. The first reconciliation bill I signed for a massive increase in Border Patrol. These Border Patrol, Brandon Judd and all of his people, they're incredible, the job they do. Tom Homan, as a man that knows it. You see him on television. I call him central casting, but these two guys and all of the people that work with him are so good. They want to do their job. It's going to be a colossal increase in the number of ICE and Border Patrol deportation officers following the Eisenhower model. I don't know if you know, Dwight Eisenhower was very tough on the subject. We will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
And it won't be fair.
I want to say Trump's campaign was unable to provide any evidence of the existence of a news story about a no longer busy doctor at a South American mental institution. And the campaign also failed to provide any evidence that South American countries are emptying mental health facilities to somehow send patients into the United States. Representatives for two anti-immigration organizations told us they had not heard of anything that would corroborate any of Trump's story as
fear.
Okay.
We're igniting.
Exactly. Okay. I live in Southern California, right? I live not too far from the Mexican border, right? Now, with what he's saying, I'd imagine, man, that I just have some people rambling through the streets, walking and talking to themselves and fucking, just in droves of people.
If you're in the South, that's exactly what you're picturing.
Because this has been happening obviously since he left office, right?
Yeah.
Like 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years people have just been, it should be like The Walking Dead out here.
I know. That is true. And that's exactly what they picture it's like. I'm telling you.
I don't see
it. Just hits home.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it though.
I'm glad to know that. Relax, everybody.
I've been driving the freeways here for years. When Trump was president, Biden's president, doesn't seem any more crowded, less crowded than it did before.
Calm down, everybody. Now we don't have to worry about it.
I mean, it's
now
crazy.
We got an eyewitness account.
I've been to. I can go to San Diego, and I've been to San Diego numerous times. And same thing. San Diego's real close to the border. Again, you'd think you just have a bunch of crazy fucking people, wandering the streets. Because the South American doctor doesn't have any patients anymore because they all were sent to the United States.
America.
What the hell? Like, where does that even make any sense? Why?
I know. And the deal is he is willing to give people such a mind fuck just to win a seat in this government in order to really just become some crazy type of dictator.
But please, if you're a Trump fan and you're watching Trump and you're hearing him say this shit, don't applaud like he's telling you something honest. Right. That's the funniest thing to me is like you hear all these people like cheer, like what he's saying is truthful. Come on.
Right.
Don't be an idiot. Right.
It's like a campfire.
Yeah.
It's like a campfire uncle, man.
Yeah.
Oh, after he's had too many drinks and he's just telling all these stories.
Yeah.
Just to rile people up.
The big fish. Big fish, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like where, I'm a firm believer in, our Constitution, believe in your party, believe in your person, believe, but don't be a fucking idiot. Don't be stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
I probably actually have more respect for those people that are just like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, rather than the people that actually believe his bullshit.
I know, right? I know. The great point. Great point. Completely. I don't know why I like him. I just like Trump. Okay.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It is. It's it's scary though. Like, I mean, like you can go through like all the shit that Trump has said when he was president and today and the stuff that he comes up with.
I know.
Windmills cause brain cancer. I mean, really? And then people cheer. You know, I mean, to me that was funny because the American Cancer Society literally had to come out and make a statement that there's no evidence that windmills cause brain cancer. They had to waste their time literally to go out and have to say that, you know?
Wow. Wow.
I mean, come on. How does that even make any sense? Windmills cause brain cancer.
Good gosh. Do you think it's a game at this point? Do you think he just throws stupid shit out there? Or you think he's just still so
throws
narcissistic
stupid
he
shit out
believes
too,
his-
because remember,
We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
Yeah.
that's what he's looking for is freaking idiots that just believe.
That's true.
You know, that don't think for themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Because again, like I can like, let's say let's say I like Trump, okay? I'm going to like Trump for a second. So Trump's an awesome guy, right? But but he could say
Mexico, which I think we're going to win. You know why we're going to win New Mexico? Because they want safety on their border. And they didn't have it. And we're building a wall on the border of New Mexico. And we're building a wall in Colorado. We're building a beautiful wall, a big one that really works, that you can't get over, you can't get under. And we're building a wall in Texas. And we're not building a wall in Kansas, but they get the benefit of the walls that we just mentioned.
and I would have to say Trump. Okay, I want you to realize, please, Colorado is in the middle of the country. You know, I know it's next to Mexico, the new part of Mexico, right? But come on, I'm not buying this, dude. You know, you got to think, please, people, think. You know,
it's our only hope.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the message of today, please think. Just think. Think for yourself.
That's all.
Contemplate.
Just think.
Everything that he says. You know, if you're a Biden fan, think about what Biden says. Think about it.
Yes.
If it makes sense. If you're a Trump fan,
Please.
think about what Trump says. See if it makes sense.
Do you have to be the greatest director in the world? Fine, please. Action. Your hair just went zoom. Do something. Static electricity just like you have with your pyramid. You know I come to fight. Think about that fight that never took place. There we could have a good argument, I want to tell you. Oh, this Trump shuttle done set me on fire.
This meeting was made possible by the one business decision everyone can agree on: the Trump shuttle, the ultimate connection.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna fly this shuttle.
The Trump shuttle operated a fleet of Boeing 727-100s and 727-200s between Boston, New York, and Washington, D.C. The airline first took to the air in mid-1989. 14 months after that first flight, Trump shuttle defaulted on a $1.1 million debt payment. Within 2 years of the first flight, there were active negotiations to sell the airline. By mid-1992, the Trump shuttle had ceased to exist. It was rebranded, bought by U.S. Airways, and subsequently absorbed into American Airlines.
It's marketing, like just basic marketing. And, you know, create problems, create the fear, create the solution. You know, it's a perfect recipe for disaster.
Because everything he does is Hitlerish. I mean, that's what Hitler did.
Yes. Yeah, he's focused on himself and his own power. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It has nothing to do with the better of the country.
No.
This has to do with being seated in the highest power a human being can have in the United States.
Yep.
And whatever it has to do, whatever it's proven. No, at this point, we need fresh ideas.
Yep.
We need innovative, younger-minded ideas on how to move forward in this new shifting time period that we're in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Well, that's all I got, man.
Well, this was fun.
Yep.
This was fun. It always is. I like these pushing to think episodes. I really do think it's important, you know, for our own humanity and survival.
Yep.
And I think people don't realize how serious it is and how we really got to start paying attention to what's being said and what it's invoking.
Dictators, the autocrats, the fascism, stuff like that. They're all begging of people that don't think for themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's not freedom. That's not democracy.
No.
It takes all of us. It wasn't just, in this world religion thing, it wasn't just Christians that invented all of the things we depend on today. It took Muslims, and it took, Jews, and it took everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense to me how we're thinking that hate is the way, and we're putting out this culture out there where now you can't say anything or it's going to be offensive, and you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't say this, and that's just to feed that hate machine. People think that it's that far left thing that's putting all this out there, but it's really just that hate machine making and creating situations.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
If people don't stop and think for themselves, they're going to wake up one day and wish they had, and it's going to be too late.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I go out to where I'll go to grocery stores, things like that, and I'm expecting, because I listen to Trump, and I'm expecting for like the place to blow up. You know what I mean? Fucking Mexicans come out and just start blasting everybody.
Yeah. I mean, by now we should have all of their criminals, and they're insane. We should be seeing evidence.
We should be seeing a lot of crazy murderous things.
We should.
People get stuck on too, like the drug thing, right? The fentanyl.
Yeah.
So much of the fentanyl is not coming through the borders.
Yeah.
Coming through the mail.
That is exactly, I've heard that very same statement like twice last week.
Yeah, maybe coming up from Mexico and stuff like that, but it's not coming from people that are crossing the border and unsecured borders specifically. Like the places that the drugs would be coming in are actually secured borders. I mean, do you really think that people are loaded up with backpacks and shit with drugs running across the fucking? No, they're freaking loaded up in their car, driving across. You know what I mean? They're not running through the fucking swamps, and all the people that are doing that with the drugs, anyways, do exactly what what these Americans want: lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about money.
That's it.
It's a business. I mean, people don't realize this. It's like every time that we make more hatred against drug users, right? Every time that we create more disdain towards drug users, right? The value of it, the more we make consequences, the more we raise consequences for drug offenses, the value goes up. When the value goes up, because it's more of a risk now. So when the value goes up, it's coming in. People are going to do it. People want to, you know what I mean? That's where people they got backwards thinking on this whole thing. They've been doing this since 1914 with the Harrison Narcotics Act. They've been doing the same game, right? Criminalize. Let's raise the penalties, right? Yeah, all you're doing is raising the value. And then you're getting more people hooked, and then we get mad at the freaking dealers, who are just trying to support their own habit, The ones that are bringing it across the border, if they are bringing it across, they're the mules. You know what I mean?
They're
the ones that are getting paid. They're probably getting their own dope. They're not the people that they want to catch.
Right. Exactly.
They're smarter than that.
Exactly. And it's not as if they wanted to, if they really wanted to put an end to that surely they would not be able to shut that whole system down. You know what I mean? Like, if we can declare war on this and war on that, but it's not about that. You're correct. It's about keeping the system going, keeping that system of slavery going. And it's that same cycle. And I appreciate the recovery community for talking about all of this so much more and still being such a presence, and we still have more of a presence to be out, showing a different side of what this whole thing's about. That's why it's important.
That's the principle behind it, is that our government has always been about reduce supply. You can't do that. You cannot reduce supply.
Yeah.
We need to start reducing demand. We need to need to start working on the people to get them to say, I don't want to do this shit. Right?
Exactly.
Nobody's putting a gun to these people's head to take these drugs.
Right.
We need to get them to say, you know what, I don't want it.
Yep.
And then they go out of business.
Exactly. That's healing, my friend. That is healing, and that's the name of the game. And you're right, it's the only way we defeat this whole thing.
Yep.
But look at the business that would take away. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
You know, it's a vicious scam.
But people need to start redirecting what we're doing, though. They need to redirect
without
how
a
we're
doubt.
dealing with it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, because we don't need the government to, in all honesty, we don't need the government to be the thing that changes it. We change it from the people on the ground. We start to change people's minds about what this actually is, what they're seeing.
Yep.
And then once we do that and we switch that stigma, people can really heal. You know? I mean, people, they can. They can. And we could heal this from the ground up. So, great episode, man.
All right.
As
Well, hey, I want to
always.
thank everybody for watching Walk a Mile in My Shoes.
Thumbs up. Do all the stuff. To subscribe. I can't even talk.
Yeah.
Subscribe, and just thanks for watching that. And also make sure that you leave us comments and tell us what you want us to look into next. That would be fun. An audience pick.
Absolutely. So again, thanks for walking with us, and we will see you soon.
Tour de Trump stands ready to take its place alongside the great classics of Europe. But unlike those European races, this event has no history. It's creating its own history as we speak. And the man who has put his name on the event is Donald Trump.
I really look to the future. I always do, with investments, with deals, with events, with anything. And I think this is an event that can be tremendous in the future. And it can really very much rival the Tour de France.